What happens when a royal guest forgets that even morning television has its limits? In just 38 seconds, one comment would turn a friendly interview into the most shocking exit in Good Morning America history. Sam Champion stood behind the weather desk that morning, his warm smile greeting millions of viewers across the country. The studio buzzed with its usual energy. Producers scurried between cameras. Makeup artists did final touch-ups. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed perfect. But in less than 10 minutes, this regular Wednesday morning broadcast would become anything but ordinary. Meghan Markle arrived at the studio wearing a designer cream-colored suit. Her entrance commanded attention. Staff members whispered as she walked past. She carried herself with an air that some might call confident, others might call something else entirely. Sam Champion, ever the professional, greeted her with genuine warmth. "Welcome to Good Morning America," Sam said, extending his hand. "We're so excited to have you here today." Meghan took his hand briefly, barely making eye contact. "Yes, well, I'm incredibly busy, so let's make this quick." Sam's smile didn't falter. He had interviewed thousands of people over his career. He knew how to handle difficult guests. He guided her to the interview area, a cozy setup with 2 chairs and soft lighting. The cameras began rolling. "Good morning, everyone," Sam began, his voice carrying that familiar warmth viewers had loved for years. "We have a very special guest joining us today. Thank you so much for being here." Meghan sat back in her chair, crossing her legs. "Of course. So let's dive right in," Sam continued. "You've been involved in so many wonderful charitable causes. Can you tell our viewers about the work you're most passionate about?" Meghan's expression shifted slightly. "Well, Sam, I think the real question is why isn't everyone doing more? I mean, I look around and I see so much complacency. It's frankly disappointing." Sam nodded, keeping his composure. "That's an interesting perspective. Can you elaborate on what you mean?" "What I mean," Meghan said, leaning forward, "is that people like you, sitting in these comfortable studios, talking about the weather and cooking segments, you have a platform, but what are you really doing with it?" The studio fell silent. Crew members exchanged glances. Sam maintained his professional demeanor, though something flickered in his eyes. Years of live television had taught him to stay calm under pressure. "Well, I think we do try to use our platform responsibly," Sam replied gently. "We cover important stories, we highlight charitable work, and yes, we also provide entertainment and information that people need in their daily lives." Meghan laughed, but it wasn't a friendly sound. Entertainment. Right, that's exactly the problem. Everyone's so focused on entertaining people that they forget about real issues. "I don't think that's entirely fair," Sam said, his tone still respectful but firmer now. "Our viewers care about a wide range of topics. We try to serve everyone." "Your viewers?" Meghan repeated, making air quotes with her fingers. "Do you even know what your viewers really need? Or do you just give them what's easy?" Sam took a breath. The camera caught everything. His professionalism never wavered. "I'd like to think after decades in this industry, I have a pretty good sense of what resonates with people. But I'm always learning. That's what makes this job rewarding." "Decades," Meghan said, emphasizing the word. "Yes, that's quite obvious, isn't it?" Another wave of silence crashed through the studio. Sam's eyebrows raised slightly. "I'm sorry. What do you mean by that?" "I just mean," Meghan said, waving her hand dismissively, "that maybe it's time for fresh perspectives, new voices, people who actually understand what matters in today's world." Sam's jaw tightened, almost imperceptibly. "I see. So you're suggesting that experience is a negative thing?" "I'm suggesting," Meghan said, her voice taking on a sharper edge, "that clinging to old ways of doing things doesn't serve anyone. The world has moved on, Sam. Perhaps some people should too." "That's an interesting observation," Sam replied, his voice steady as a rock. "Though I'd argue that experience combined with adaptability is actually quite valuable. We've covered everything from natural disasters to political upheavals to social movements. We've grown and changed with the times." Meghan rolled her eyes, actually rolled her eyes on live television. "Sure you have." "I'm sensing some hostility here," Sam said, addressing it directly. "Is there something specific you'd like to discuss?" "Hostility?" Meghan's voice rose slightly. "I'm simply being honest, something that seems to be lacking in morning television. Everyone's so busy being nice and polite that nobody says what they're really thinking." "There's a difference between honesty and rudeness," Sam said calmly. "We can have authentic conversations while still treating each other with respect." "Oh, here we go," Meghan said, throwing her hands up. "The tone policing. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Women, especially women of color, get told they're being rude or aggressive when they're just being direct. I would say the same thing to anyone who came on this show and started making personal attacks, Sam responded, his voice still measured. This has nothing to do with who you are and everything to do with how you're choosing to communicate right now. Meghan's face flushed. Personal attacks? I haven't attacked anyone. You've implied that I'm too old for this job, Sam said, ticking off on his fingers. You've suggested that our show doesn't matter. You've questioned my understanding of our audience. Those feel pretty personal to me. Maybe if you're too sensitive for criticism, you shouldn't be in this position, Meghan shot back. Sam's expression remained remarkably calm. There's a difference between criticism and disrespect. I welcome the former. I don't tolerate the latter, regardless of who it comes from. Oh, please, Meghan said, standing up from her chair. Don't act like you're some victim here. You have all the power in this situation. Actually, Sam said, also standing, we invited you here as a guest. We prepared thoughtful questions. We were excited to hear your perspectives, but you've turned this into something confrontational from the very beginning. Because I refuse to play your game, Meghan said, her voice rising. I refuse to sit here and pretend like everything is wonderful when it's not. Nobody asked you to pretend anything, Sam replied. We asked you to have a conversation, a respectful conversation, that's all. Respect. Meghan laughed bitterly. You want to talk about respect? How about respecting that some of us have actually lived through real struggles, real challenges? Not just standing in front of a green screen talking about sunny skies. Sam's eyes narrowed slightly. That's incredibly dismissive of not just my work, but the work of everyone on this team. We work hard every single day to inform and serve our viewers. Inform them about what? Meghan challenged. The latest celebrity gossip? What dress someone wore to an event? Among many other things, yes, Sam said. We cover a broad range of topics because our audience is diverse. They have diverse interests. That's not a weakness. That's a strength. It's fluff, Meghan said flatly. It's meaningless fluff that distracts people from what really matters. Who are you to decide what matters to other people? Sam asked, his patience clearly wearing thin. What gives you the authority to determine what millions of viewers should care about? I'm not trying to determine anything for anyone, Meghan said, though her tone suggested otherwise. I'm just stating facts. No, Sam said firmly. You're stating opinions. Very harsh opinions that you're presenting as facts. There's a significant difference. Meghan crossed her arms. Whatever you need to tell yourself. You know what? Sam said, taking a deep breath. I've tried to keep this conversation on track. I've tried to give you every opportunity to have a meaningful dialogue. But it's clear that you came here with an agenda that had nothing to do with actual communication. My agenda? Meghan's voice went up another notch. What about your agenda? Bringing me on here so you can look diverse and inclusive? Sam's face showed real emotion for the first time. That's not just unfair, it's untrue. We invited you because we thought you had important things to share. We wanted to hear your voice. But only if I say it nicely, right? Meghan challenged. Only if I smile and nod and make you comfortable? No, Sam said, his voice firm but not angry. But we do expect basic courtesy. We expect guests to treat our team with the same respect we show them. That's not too much to ask. This is unbelievable, Meghan said, shaking her head. This is absolutely unbelievable. What's unbelievable, Sam said, is that you've spent this entire interview attacking me, attacking this show, attacking our audience, and now you're acting like you're the wrong party. I'm speaking truth to power, Meghan declared. I'm a meteorologist, Sam said, a hint of exasperation creeping into his voice. I report the weather and conduct interviews. I'm not some authority figure oppressing anyone. I'm just trying to do my job. Your job of maintaining the status quo, Meghan said. Your job of keeping everything safe and sanitized. My job, Sam corrected, is to provide accurate information and engaging content to our viewers. That's it. And right now, you're making that impossible. Good, Meghan said. Maybe it should be impossible. Maybe comfortable morning shows are part of the problem. Sam looked directly at the camera, then back at Meghan. I think we need to take a break. A break? Meghan said incredulously. You're cutting this short because you can't handle a real conversation? I'm suggesting a break, Sam said carefully, because this has stopped being a conversation and has become something else entirely. Typical, Meghan muttered. I'm sorry, Sam said. I said typical, Meghan repeated louder. The moment someone challenges you, you shut them down. That's not what's happening here, Sam said, his voice strained. What's happening here is that you've been hostile and dismissive from the moment you sat down. I've given you multiple chances to course correct, and instead, you've doubled down." "Course correct," Meghan said mockingly, "like I'm some misbehaving child who needs to be managed." "Like you're a guest who's forgotten basic manners," Sam said bluntly. The studio went completely silent. Even the camera operators seemed to freeze. Meghan's face went red. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Sam said, standing his ground. "I've been in this business long enough to recognize when someone is deliberately trying to create a scene. I don't know what your motivations are, but this isn't what we do here." "What you do here," Meghan said, her voice dripping with condescension, "is apparently silence people who don't fit your narrative." "Our narrative," Sam said, his voice rising slightly for the first time, "is one of respect, inclusion, and genuine dialogue. You violated all three of those principles in the span of 10 minutes. "How dare you?" Meghan said. "How dare I?" Sam repeated. "How dare I expect to be treated with basic human decency? How dare I defend my colleagues and our work? How dare I not just sit here and take abuse disguised as honesty?" "This is insane," Meghan said, looking around at the crew. "Is anyone else seeing this? He's attacking me." "Nobody's attacking you," Sam said, his composure returning. "But I am holding you accountable for your behavior. There's a difference." "I don't have to listen to this," Meghan said, reaching for her microphone pack. "You're right, you don't," Sam agreed. "The door is right there." Meghan stopped, clearly shocked. "Are you kicking me off the show?" "I'm giving you a choice," Sam said. "You can sit back down, we can start fresh with mutual respect, or you can leave. Either way, the decision is yours." "Unbelievable," Meghan said again, fumbling with her microphone. "This is absolutely unbelievable." "I'm sorry you feel that way," Sam said, though his tone suggested he wasn't particularly sorry at all. "You'll regret this," Meghan said, finally unhooking her microphone and dropping it on the chair. "I doubt that," Sam replied calmly. Meghan stood there for a moment, perhaps expecting Sam to back down, to apologize, to beg her to stay. He did none of those things. He simply stood there, professional and unmoved. "Fine," Meghan finally said. "I don't need this. I don't need any of this." "Safe travels," Sam said simply. Meghan turned on her heel and stormed off the set. Her footsteps echoed through the silent studio. Crew members parted like water as she passed. The heavy studio door slammed behind her, the sound reverberating through the space. Sam stood there for a moment, collecting himself. Then he turned to the camera with a slight smile. "Well," he said, his voice returning to its warm, familiar tone. "That was unexpected. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have a wonderful segment about community gardens making a difference in urban neighborhoods. Stay with us." The camera cut away. As soon as they were clear, the studio erupted. Producers rushed over. Crew members started talking all at once. Sam held up a hand. "I'm fine," he assured everyone. "Really? Let's just get ready for the next segment." "Sam, that was incredible," one producer said. "The way you handled that." "I just did my job," Sam said, straightening his jacket. "We treat everyone with respect, and we expect the same in return. When someone violates that, there are consequences." "Should we address it when we come back?" another producer asked. Sam thought for a moment. "No, we move forward. We have a show to do and viewers counting on us. That's what matters." In the commercial break, Sam reviewed his notes for the next segment. His hands were steady. His breathing was calm. Years of live television had prepared him for moments like this, though they were rare. A production assistant approached nervously. "Sam, her publicist is calling. They're demanding an apology." Sam looked up, his expression neutral. "An apology for what exactly?" "For, quote, humiliating their client on national television." "I see," Sam said. "You can tell them that we welcome their client onto our show with open arms and open minds. How the interview proceeded was entirely her choice. We hold everyone to the same standards of respectful behavior, regardless of their status or background." The production assistant nodded and hurried away. 30 seconds, the floor director called out. Sam took a deep breath and smiled. When the cameras came back on, it was as if nothing had happened. He was warm, engaging, perfectly professional. The segment about community gardens was informative and uplifting. The viewers at home who had just witnessed the confrontation might have wondered if they'd imagined it, but they hadn't. It had happened. All of it. Throughout the rest of the show, Sam never mentioned the incident. He introduced segments with his usual enthusiasm. He bantered with his co-hosts. He delivered the weather forecast with maps and graphics, and that signature Sam Champion charm that had made him a household name. During another commercial break, the executive producer pulled him aside. "The phones are ringing off the hook," she said. "Social media is exploding. Everyone's talking about what happened." "Good or bad?" Sam asked. "Overwhelmingly supportive of you," she said. "People are saying it's about time someone stood up to that kind of behavior." Sam nodded. "I didn't do it for that. I did it because it was the right thing to do." "I know," the producer said. "That's why it's resonating." As the show wrapped up, Sam delivered his closing remarks with the same warmth he'd started with. He thanked the viewers for watching. He previewed tomorrow's show. He smiled and waved as the credits rolled. The moment the cameras stopped rolling, the real chaos began. Network executives wanted to talk. Legal wanted to talk. Public relations wanted to talk. Everyone had an opinion about what had just transpired. Sam handled it all with grace. He explained his position clearly and calmly. He stood by his actions. He never wavered. "She came onto our show and immediately started attacking me personally," Sam explained to a room full of executives. "I gave her multiple opportunities to change course. I remained professional throughout, but at a certain point, you have to draw a line. We can't allow guests to abuse our staff and our platform, no matter who they are." One executive nodded. "The footage speaks for itself. You were nothing but professional." "I tried to be," Sam said. "But I also wasn't going to sit there and be a punching bag. That doesn't serve anyone." The meeting went on for an hour. Questions were asked and answered. Decisions were made. By the end of it, the network stood firmly behind Sam's actions. As Sam finally made his way to his dressing room, he felt exhausted but satisfied. He had done the right thing. It hadn't been easy, but it had been necessary. He sat down and looked at himself in the mirror. Same face, same person, but something felt different. He had drawn a line in the sand and hadn't backed down. In an industry that often prioritized celebrity and status over basic decency, he had chosen principle. His phone buzzed constantly with messages of support from colleagues, from viewers, from people in the industry. He scrolled through them briefly, grateful for the encouragement. One message stood out. It was from a young producer who had been in the studio that morning. "Thank you for showing us what integrity looks like. We'll never forget this." Sam smiled. That's what it was really about. Not the drama, not the headlines, not the viral moments. It was about standing up for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. It was about treating people with respect and expecting the same in return. It was about recognizing that no one, regardless of their status or fame, has the right to belittle or demean others. The next morning, Sam arrived at the studio, as he always did. Early, prepared, professional. The security guard greeted him warmly. "Saw what happened yesterday, Mr. Champion. You handled that beautifully." "Thank you," Sam said sincerely. "Just doing my job." "Not just anyone could have stayed that calm," the guard said. "That's a special skill." Sam made his way to the studio, where his team was already setting up for the day's show. Everyone greeted him with even more warmth than usual. There was a sense of pride in the room, a feeling of vindication. The show that morning went off without a hitch. Sam never mentioned the previous day's incident. He moved forward, focusing on the work, on serving the viewers, on being the professional he'd always been. In the control room, producers watched with admiration. This was what experience looked like. This was what grace under pressure looked like. This was what standing your ground looked like. And somewhere, perhaps, a certain former guest was learning a valuable lesson about respect, about humility, about the fact that fame and status don't give you the right to treat people poorly. The interview that was supposed to showcase important charitable work had instead become a masterclass in professional boundaries. It had shown millions of viewers that it's possible to stand up for yourself while maintaining dignity. It had demonstrated that kindness doesn't mean being a doormat. Sam Champion had gone into that interview prepared to have a meaningful conversation. He had offered warmth, respect, and genuine interest. When those offerings were thrown back in his face, he had done what any self-respecting professional would do. He had drawn a line. He had maintained his standards. He had protected not just himself, but his team and the integrity of the show. The studio doors that Meghan had slammed through represented more than just a dramatic exit. They represented the boundary between acceptable and unacceptable behavior. They represented the consequences of entitlement. They represented the simple truth that respect is a two-way street. Sam never gloated about what happened. He never gave lengthy interviews dissecting the confrontation. He simply went back to work, doing what he had always done, with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they acted with integrity. The viewers never forgot that morning. It became one of those television moments that people referenced, that got replayed, that sparked conversations about celebrity behavior and media accountability. But for Sam, it was just another day of upholding the standards that had guided his entire career. In the days that followed, other stories emerged. Stories about how this particular guest had behaved similarly in other situations. Stories about a pattern of entitlement and dismissiveness toward people she deemed beneath her. The Good Morning America incident hadn't been an aberration, it had been a revelation. But Sam didn't engage with any of that speculation. He had said what needed to be said in that moment, in that studio. He had drawn his line, and that was enough. The weather forecast that day called for clear skies and sunshine. Sam delivered it with his usual enthusiasm, pointing at maps, explaining pressure systems, making weather accessible and interesting for millions of viewers. It was what he did. It was who he was. And in doing that simple, honest work with dedication and professionalism, Sam Champion proved that sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is to simply maintain your standards, refuse to be diminished, and keep doing excellent work no matter what storms might blow through. The studio lights shone bright, the cameras rolled, the show went on, and somewhere in there, between the weather segments and the interviews and the commercial breaks, was a lesson about dignity, about respect, and about the quiet strength it takes to stand your ground when someone tries to knock you down. That morning in the studio had started like any other. It had become something extraordinary not because of grand gestures or dramatic speeches, but because one person chose to maintain boundaries and demand basic respect. In a world that often rewards bad behavior with attention and excuses entitlement in the name of authenticity, Sam Champion had done something radical. He had simply refused to play along.